the third. Barton Mark Bedford. Larry, shut up.
Larry Burrows.
Randy Close.
Joey Pinky Behan. Joseph K. Behan.
Anthony Lane Cobb.
Elaine Grevel.
David L. Bush. Roy Marcus Cone.
Ken Vielander.
It was the first.
Jorge Bustamante. Wayne Cole.
Yes.
Daniel Clark Boymeyer.
Ramses Santa. Carlos Palazzo Diaz.
Timothy Audra.
Roger Dirk. Coral Horn. Alex Durant. Alex Nimitz. Richard Cahill.
Larry Hill.
Carl Horner.
Gary Bonasort.
Captain Richard C. Howard.
Larry D. Goodson.
Timothy L. Huckabee. Huckabee. Tom Linton. Gregory Durbin. Peter A.
Gregory Booth.
Alex F. Durham III. Scott Hunter.
James E. Gorham.
Bob Orland.
Eddie Joe Flower. Trace Allen
Dale Linton.
Dennis Bittner.
Christopher Walter Hughes.
David Armand Blanchet.
Jimmy N. Gonzalez.
Taylor E. Bowling.
Gloria Blanco.
Jimmy Good.
Franklin Lamar Blanco.
Alan Joseph Boyd.
Mary Bradley.
I knew her. Iria A. Bracco.
Walter W. Goldstein.
Tony Brady. Rick Harmon. Eddie Cuckoo Harpo. Captain Mark Bramhall.
Dorothea Harris. James Harris. Ronald Harris. Tia Marie Harris.
Merlin Branchick.
Michael J. Cooper. Samuel J. Rodriguez, MP. Gary Williams. Denise Fredericks. Robert J. Bird, Jr. Brian Daniel Clark. Eugene Bazanski. Shane Zakis. John Zest. Dennis Zierler. Blaine Zierndorf. Alexander Zinnieweel. Paul Zinpepper. Robert Zerbergren. Larry Kramer. Dennis W. Yeager. Eric Peterson. Thomas M. Griffiths. Robert Rafael Fernandez. Stephen Lee Bond. Bruce R. Beal. Thomas A. Payne. Lyle T. McCown, Jr. Harold Frank Garner, Jr.
Gary Kowalski. William Kraus. John Nelson Kramer. John Kreider. David Kumroy. Glenn Kugler. David Kuhn. Charles R. Lefevre. Michael Landgrave. John Lane. Russell Lane. Gene Chalk Lafreniere. Bob W. Shore. Mario La Torre. Dale M. Lothenberg, Steve R. Lanier, Keith A. Lovick, Roger Dale Lawrence, Jimmy Lawton, Wesley Leeper, Bill Levens, John Leasley, Richard Rick M. Levy, Ann Whalen, Marilyn Whalen, Thomas Whalen, George Allen Whitstone, Darrell Whitten, Brian White, Paul R. White, R. Brooks White, Robert White, Robert J. Robbie Whitney, Roger Witter, Douglas Leo Wyatt, Don Wilcoxon, Jeffrey Wilcox Limbruno, Daniel H. Will, John Williams, Kenneth G. Williams, Robert Williams, Walter Williams, Greg Williams R.N., Lyle Williamson, Doug Willis, Donald Wilson, Thomas Wilson.
Jody McGregor, Armando Tony Manch, Tom Machodi, Rex Madsen, Jeanette Maduro, H. Robert Maggie, Glenn Maher, John Thomas Mallory III, Patrick T. Maloney, Mark Manoff, Robert B. Mann, Ph.D., John J. Manning IV, Phelps Manning, Michael Mansell, Christopher Manship, Mike Mantis, Brent L. Marbay, Renee Martian, Ralph J. Marks, Walt Marlowe, Michael O. Marquez, Bert Marr, Michael Maroney,
Raoul LeBar, R. Michael Lecky, Missy Freeman LeClaire, John Ledford, David W. Lee, George Lee, Jesse Lee, Joseph F. Lee, Wayne Lee, George A. Liddell, Dennis J. Lejeune, Pierre Lejean, Kim Lampasas, Tanner Lampasas, Ronald Lennon, Samuel Lennon, William Lentz, Michael Leonard, Stephen H. Letarte, Larry Lewis, Jim Lutan, Robert A. Lizard Linder, George Lindquist, and Doug Lindsay.
Major, Ernest Miller, James Destiny Miller, Mr. Jim Miller, Roy Miller, Dr. Ward Malone, Tim Hill, Cindy Wilson,
David Loggins, Joe Louis Lotz, Sergio Londano, James Judy Long, Adolf Lopez, Diego Lopez, Eddie Lopez, Miri Lopez, Patty Lord, Paul Lord, Dana Love, Jay Lovelace, Anthony Lloyd, Clark Ludwizak, Thomas Lundell, David Oliver, Jeff Lynch, and David Lynch.
Timothy McCarran, Richard McCarthy, Bruce Kevin McCarthy, John R. McCauley, Stephen McComb, Raymond McCoy, Robert McDougall, Jimmy McElwain, Gregory Greg R. McGrady, Robert R. McGregor, Terry J. McGuire, Ronald McKenna, George McKinney, John McNamee, Roger McNiven, Warren Meadows, Andrew P. Neely, Ernie Meckler, Ismar Mejias, Fabian Mena, Pepe Menendez, Mark Richard Mercer, Carolyn E. Mercer Daly, Philip S. Mercurio.
Billy Marshall, Charles Martin, Drew Cameron Martin, Neil Martin, Pablo Martin, Jose E. Martinez, Ian Ricky Martinez, Alex Mata, Eugene Mathon, Robert Matic, Howard Maurer, Dan E. May, Leslie Mayberry, James Papa Mayer, Valerie Mayer, Jim Maynard, Arthur C. Mays, Louis P. Mazzaconi, Don B. McAdams, Sean McAleenan, Danny McAllister, John MacArthur, Dennis McBride, Lawrence McBride.
William Mulholland, George Mulhaney, Andrew Muller, Bruce Mullins, Robert Mummer II, Tony A. Munoz, David Murphy, Bert Murrah, Thomas Muscato, Brian Muserito, Anthony Todd, Tony Myers, Cliff Mervo, Juan Carlos Nagel, David Napoli, Timmy Nardi, Phil Nasta, Antonio Navarrete, Thomas A. Neal, Chuck Nern, James Neary, James Jimmy Nelson, Vincent Chip Newman, Grant New, J. L. Jelly New. Jeff Plum, Marty H. Paul, Donald Nexus Paparola, James D. Porch, Robert Potter, Derek W. Povey, Charles Powell, Martin John Powers, John W. Pratt III, Jimmy Presto, James Edmund Price, Keith J. Pritchett, Jim J.P. Popes, William L. Prosser, John P. Puckett, Patrick Puckett, Daniel Puerto, Thomas Pugliese, Joseph V. Pulitano Jr., Tom Purnell, Dr. Thomas C. Peroff, Bill Pursley, Kenneth Putnam, Marcos Mike Quesada.
Toby Nichols, Rachel Janine Elizabeth Niles, Francis Nix, Stan Nixon, Rainer Noel, Hartley Noyce, Dennis Nolan, Randall D. Nolan, Gregory Claire Knowles, Kenneth Northrop, Philip Nye, Michael Jeremy O'Connor, Charles J. Odo, Charles Odo, Rachel Odom, Alan O'Hara, Bourne Martin Odakis, John Ondusco, Rodney R. Olson, Michael O'Mallory, Bert O'Neill, Billy O'Neill, Brian O'Regan, Mark W. Parody, Tom Park, Jose Joe Parker, Stephanie R. Parker, Stuart Parker, Jonathan Smokey Perro, Diego A. Pantino, Daniel L. Patrick, James A. Pryor, Todd J. Perlman, Joan M. Pence, Connell D. Pepin, Gabriel Orlando, John W. Osmond, Albert Osterman, Mario Otero, Richard J. Ott, Widimir Pacachico, Stephanie Pakhonka, Eric Page, Richard B. Page, Robert Paella, Robert E. Palmer, Ron Paquete.
Antonio Sanchez, Jose Sanchez, Manuel Sanchez, Narcisio Sanchez, Bill Sanders, Roy Sanders, Manola Serrara, William Sawyer, John R. Sawyer, William Scalicia, Anthony Scaramuccio II, John Scarialia, Robert Escardabino, Scott Chatzenbach, Gerard Shepherd, Herb Scherer, Reverend Stephen J. Scherer, Michael Schiller, Terry Lane Schmidt, Kenny Schrader, Tom Schweitzer, Ronald Schwartz, Dr. Ronald Schwartz, Alan Curtis Scott.
Alan Scott, Don McKay Scott, Maxine Scott, Melvin R. Scott, Joey Sturma, Joey Seams, Jeffrey Siegel, Christian Segan, Dick Selhammer, Chuck Sealander, Carol John Sleds, Charles Chuck Seifert, Maines Sennett, Dana L. Sevens, Roley Severson, Charles Shaw, Gary Shaw, Sean Say, Brian A. Sheehan, Francis J. Shepard, Derek Sheridan, Christian Sherman, and John Simmons.
Pierre Lacroix, Lily Roll, Gordon Rollins, Jimmy Romer, Doug Brooks, Tom Rooney, Anthony Rosati, Billy Wayne Ross, David Allen Ross, Michael Ross, Mark E. Rowley, Henry S. Rubertino, Frank Rubino, Thomas A. Rudzinski, Thomas Rule, Johnny P. Rush, Jimmy Russell, Billy Nicholas Russell, Greg Russell, Jim Russell, Anthony John Tony Russo, Dennis Rutkowski, Robert Ansari, Michael Salisbury, Alan Sanchez.
Stephen Walters, Roger S. Walter, H. Scott Walton, Alexander Ward, Alan Ward, Daniel J. Ward, Tim Ward, Philip Warner, Richard Warwick, Carmen Helper Washington, Eddie Ray Watson II, Fred B. Watson, Robert Cow Watson, Ronald Watson, Jackson Jackley Watts III, William C. Weaver, Tom Story Weber, Michael J. Wildner, Curtis Wickle, William West, Guy Woodard, James West, Mark West. Kevin P. Bravo, Robert A. Bremer, David Breton, Marcel Bretos, Gregory Kevin Brewer, John Brewer, Vic Brewer, Stephen Brinker, Rodney K. Brock, Daniel S. Broderick, Martin Broadfuhr, Howard Stephen Brooks, Wesley Brooks, Keith M. Brown, Nick Brown, Stephen Brown, King Captain Timothy Brown, Timothy Levin Brown, Mark Brunson, Bob Bruton, Ella Bryant, Jesse Bryant, Jed Allen Bryson, Stuart Buchanan.
Dorothea Harris, James Harris, Ronald Harris, Tia Marie Harris, Bill Hart, DeWitt Hart, Joe Hart, Robert Hartman, Ron Hessler, Robert E. Hatton, James Hawkins, Shannon Maurice E. Hayden, Dwayne Alcippi, Scott Ham, Daryl Hancock, Brian Hand, Dean Marshall Hanson, Joyce L. Hanson, Thomas Carl Hanson, Christian Perrin, Ralph Harmer, Rick Harmon, Eddie Cuckoo Harble.
James Sabaski, Mark Sumberg, Brian Summers, Mark Summers, Sydney G. Soons II, Stuart Soroka, Nick Soto, Frank Soleil, William C. Pinky Sowers, Dale R. Spade, Tony Sparks, Winford Drew Spears, Michael Warren Spencer, Stephen Sperry, Heather Lynn Spiegel, Janet Spiegel, Michael St. Laurent, Ron Stafford, Dan Stolley, Bo Stenson, Frank A. Stevens, Sasha Sterling, Gary Sternquist, and Alan Stevens.
Oh boy. Joseph Klazinski, Bobby Lee Knight, Yoel Knighton, Will Knox, J.D. Kovzak, Herbert Kober, Dennis Komax, Mark Klazinski, Jim Kopenhofer, Kurt Copperrud, John Korswagen, Dennis Koznak, Donald Kirsch, Chuck Kelser, RN, Frederick Pavel Ketchum, Ray Caton, Gregory Stephen King, Gary Kenny, Keith Kirchgatter, Jimmy Kirkwood, Kevin Kite, Edward Clamer, and last, Colby Kincaid.
Victor Richardson, Roger Richardson, Scott A. Rickard, R. Richard Riddle, Larry Riffle, Thomas Riley, Joseph Rimkus, Bobby Rinaldi, S. Terry Reinhardt, Pedro Rivera, Jorge Rivera Lopez, Rhonda Riviera, Bradley Paul Robin, Dennis A. Robert, Jared Roberts, Daryl Robinson, Jonathan Foster Robinson, Tom Robinson, William H. Robinson, Russell Roche, Elizabeth Rock, Juan Rodriguez, Barry Rogachevsky, Juan Peralta, Eugene Perez, Jean Perez, Johnny Perez, Juan A. Perez, Sonny Perez, Stephen Gray Perrine, John D. Perkins, Richard Perkins, Alan Perry, Thomas Pazant, Kyle Peters, Larry D. Peterson, Timothy J. Petrosky, Louis W. Plow, Richard Beverly, Billy Phillips, Danny Phillips, Larry P. Phillips, John M. Pfeiffer, Robert L. Pierce, Peter V. Penezich, Robert Piotrowski, Philip Pizzani.
Manfred Ibo, Thomasina, John Thomasina Berger, Eric Hillerschlag, Tim Iverson, David Jackson, William L. Jackson, Richard Shaw, Raymond Shaw, William Bill Jacko, Karsten Jacob, John James, George Jefferson, Daniel Jenkins, Louis Jenkins, Steve Jenkins, Dewey Jefferson, Richard Johansson, David Johansson, Paul Johns, Danny Johnson, Alan Johnson, Jimmy Lee Johnson, Robert Johnson, Ron Johnson, John Johnston, Brian Jones, Carnell Jones, Donald Jones, Gilda Jones, Keith Jones, Pierre Jones, James Jordan, Edward Cummins, Johnny Kane, Tom Kane, James Caracas, Martin Curran, Charles Carp, Rio Cash, Dane Capoulas, Paul Keener, Scott Pelter, Johnny Kelly, Robert Kelly, Matt Keenan, Gary Kelly, Jay Kenny, and of course my personal friends, huge looker Michael Cooper.
Bobby Stevens, Frank Stevens, Kevin Albert Stewart, John R. Stewart, Charles Stinser, Rick Stort, Christopher Streeter, Leardis Streeter, Tony J. Strobel, Chris Strums, Mike Suarez, Frank Searle, Charlena D. Sugarbaker, Robert A. Sunday, Lorna Suave, Philip A. Swain Jr., John Sweetman, Monte M. Swern, Jim Swisher, William Swords, Thomas Zuder, David A. Tackett, Michael Takei, Tim Tarpley.
Randy Milton Sims, Anthony Simpson, James Singleton, Patrick Singleton, Frank Lee Slater, Stephen Slaughter, Tim Schlechter, Rusty Slusser, Charles Smith, Dennis Smith, Harold Smith, James Smith, John Taylor Smith, Michael Christopher Smith, Michelle E. Smith, Robert Smith, Weldon J. Smith, William R. Smith, Randy Smunk, Eugene Smoot, Robert Smythe, Benjamin Michael Snyder, Stephen Snow, Carol M. Snyder.
Ronald Babcock Jr., Tony Badalucco, Ivan Gonzalez, Brooks Bagby, Robert Bailey, Roger Bailey, Ida Baker, Jesse Thornton Baker, Michael P. Baker, Sylvester Baker, Wade Bandy, Christian J. Bang, Robert Bagagelli, Joseph Barcola, Robert Beretta, Raymond Behringer, Jose Barrios, Guy Barris, Richard Barton, Gary L. Basie, Joseph Bastellini, Arthur Bates, Ken Beatles, Teddy Bear.
Royce Tate, Dan Touchy, David C. Taylor, Edward Taylor, Tom L. Terrell Jr., Timothy Tesorero, Tom Feats, Francois Feats, Jeffrey W. Thomas, Peter Thomas, Edward Thompson, Linda L. Thompson, Joel Desiree Thompson, Kenneth Thurston, Kenneth Bidwell, Robert Killinghans, Harold Kilrock, Dax Hine, Anthony W. Todd, Thomas C. Holberg, Sean Cooey, San Martin Torres, and Bill Powell. William Townsend, James Tracy, Barry Tracy, George W. Travis, Mario Brimbley, Michael Trudell, Tim Truman, Kenneth W. Toole, Linda Tung, Roger E. Tussey, Raymond Tyler, Diane, Ronald C. Heiner, Joseph E. Urisitti, Joe Valenzano, Scott Valenzano, Charles Balcanar, Joseph Bannock, Sasha Van Cleef, Peter A. Van Houten, Richard A. Van Hout, Stephen Bainey, Laurent Vasquez, Tim Bond, and Dean Bond.
Mike Monahan, Caroline Monfield, Harvey Monfray, Arnold Moore, William Moore, Leander G. Moorhead, Jorge Morales, Juan Morales, Moises D. Morales, Raymond Morales, Joseph Morgan III, William Morgan, William Moralski, Samuel Morris, Stephen G. Morris, Stephen Maroney, Kevin Morton, Jim Mosley, Bill Motley, James Motley, Paul Moynihan, David Mudry, Roger J. Mueller, Paul Daisy Mulhausen.
Joseph A. Carrega, Ken Carmichael, Joe Carmichael, RN, Scott B. Carpenter, Sean R. Carell, Javier Caridega, Chuck Cartelli, Peter Carter, Philip R. Carey, Alonzo Casales, Kyle Kasky, Stephen G. Cavallari, Angelo Cavallo, Samuel Selly, John P. Sester, Paul Chandler, Theodore A. Chandler, Edward Christopher Cheney, David Chapman, Julian Cheinstein, Gregory C. Chiera, Miguel A. Chinchilla, Shuk Cho, Julius Singegrani.
Thanks to each and every one of you that read from the list today to remember these amazing people memorialized. My name is Larry Blackburn. I am very, very proud to serve on the board and be the president of the board of directors for the Key West AIDS Memorial. It's quite an honor for me to welcome each and every one of you here today for World AIDS Day Ceremony 2021. We missed it last year. We brought it to you virtually, but it's so wonderful to see each and every one of you out here today. At this time, I would like to introduce your MC for today's ceremony, Fantasy Fest Queen 2017, and fellow board member Destiny Montgomery.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you all. To get us started, we're going to invite up Joan Higgs from NCC for the incantation.
Let us bow our heads for just a moment. Loving and inspiring Divine One, by whatever name we know you, as we remember those gone on to other journeys, let us not forget to look around and see others still here, still persisting. Remind us always how connected we are to one another through your grace. Help us to let our light and our hope loose in our world so as to bring goodness to every person whose path we cross, to every person who is in need of healing of the body, mind, or spirit. Help us always to hold one another close. In your many names we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you all so much for being here on this important day of remembrance. I'm going to give an extra special thank you to Mayor Terry Johnston for being here, as well as City Manager Patty McLaughlin. Thank you. And all our city commissioners that are here tonight. It really means a lot to us. Thank you all. And next, I would like to introduce our speaker for this evening, Stephen Obey of A.H. Monroe.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Obey. Ooh, upper I thought. I'm currently the Vice President of the Friends of the AIDS Memorial Board. I speak freely about my HIV status. Some of you know my story. Some of you have been pivotal in helping me write some of the chapters of my story. Some of you could probably tell me big parts of my story, including the parts I don't remember. But more of that in a minute. It is important, especially on World AIDS Day, that we honor every story. I will turn 62 on December 15th, and my own story began at 30. I was a summer disc jockey in Provincetown, as I had been for the previous 6 years, having graduated from dressing up as a pilgrim and giving tours to busloads of senior citizens. It was 1991. I was in a relationship. He went out of town. I had a one-night fling with a tourist who left me with a souvenir, an STI. I was honest with my partner. We agreed a full battery of sexual health testing was a good idea. He was negative. I, however, was positive. I had probably been infected for a while. It wasn't the one-night stand, I'm convinced. But it was that slip-up that propelled us to be tested. That's why HIV testing is so important. You are essentially being intimate with anyone your partner has been with. But you know what? It meant the inconvenience of doctor's trips every 3 months to Boston. But I was still playing dance music. Granted, some of it was being spun to celebrations of life. Ashes being scattered to a 12-inch remix. I'd also become a happy snowbird between P-Town and Key West. Eventually, I stepped away from the turntables from nightclub to nightclub management on the Cape. I was moving forward, confident, strong into the new century. And then I wasn't. I was in Key West when Dr. Whiteside told me that my T-cell count was 141. I had been blessed with a premier doctor, one who had been tracking HIV since the early 1980s, for making makeshift clinics in parking lots. So when it was time to start antivirals, I knew it was. HIV was the enemy, but after moving full-time to the island, I gradually created a bigger one, myself. The guest house at which I worked at was sold, jobless, aimless, and living in a very counterproductive environment. I was drinking scotch at 3 in the afternoon. I was 50 by now, and nagging health symptoms resulted in a cancer diagnosis involving a chest port, chemotherapy, radiation. Disability was a financial blessing and a psychological curse. I had more time to self-medicate. Except for working on a royal campaign, I convinced myself I had nothing to do. When did it change? When I awoke with a shattered coffee table beneath me, a broken collarbone, and a lease violation letter that could potentially render me homeless. But AH gave me the tools from their very broad and generous toolkit. I spent time in a Tampa rehab. We're on the 21st day of the prescribed 28 days. The doctor said, kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, that I had everything that I needed in my own backyard. And he released me early. I got it. My drinking days are over. What else changed? Mental wellness is a key. Therapy helped me take control of my life, and I urge anyone to find a professional that deals with sexual and mental health to talk about the way you feel or just reflect upon your status. You, like I, can replace a lack of self-worth with optimism and relearn how to give. I may not be HIV-free, but I am cancer-free, and that is worthy of joy. I discovered purpose in volunteerism. I am currently a strong, committed advocate and activist for people living with HIV in our community. I only wish that sometimes there were more hours in the day. So this is what thriving looks like, standing in front of you on December 1st on this pier. Unfortunately, names will continue to be added to this monument, but they need to be 25-year-olds who exhausted every option and died alone. The one thing we can count on is change. The last 20 months have reminded us of that, how infections mutate, and how healthcare and other societal measures can make a difference. HIV medications are tolerable and we adhere to, and when adhered to, make life more manageable. We have a daily pill now that can help prevent HIV infection. Honest dialogue in the dating arena can minimize stigma because the truth will always set you free. This is not to say our new generations can relax. I remember talking to a group of 8th graders in Marathon. I'd never addressed my status in front of so many people, and not so many with wide eyes. I almost lost my composure. It was tested again in 2018 when I stood here and said aloud the name of my dear friend, Dave Taylor, our 2011 Fantasy Best King. Obviously, these things never get easy. My story is not unique, but it's unique to me. Like the story of every single name, including our 13 new additions on this monument. They may not all be known personally to us, but they're not just inscriptions. They were people who had many victories along the way before one unfair defeat. Today is an important day, an emotional day on an international scale. It is also one evening, so try, like me, to make the other 364 days count. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We would like to now invite our speaker for the dedication of new names, Patty Flowers.
Good evening, everyone. This is a very difficult time for many of us. I'm honored to read these 13 names this year, dedicated to the AIDS Memorial. I want us to remember that these folks are parents, spouses, siblings, friends, family. It's a good thing I have them on my phone because the list isn't here, but that's okay. Thank you, Stephen. Please join me in remembering these folks. Eddie Woods, Luis Costa, Mark Woodsnall, Gregory Forsythe, Peter DeLuca, Ken Peskett, Michael G. Cooper, Samuel J. Rodriguez, MD, Gary Williams, Denise Fredericks, Robert J. Bird Jr., Brian Daniel Clark, and Eugene Budzonski. And I apologize to the family of Mark Woodsmall. I mispronounced his name. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. We would like to give a thank you to the sponsors and dedication of the new benches. If I could have a representative from A.H. Monroe, the Smart Ride, MCC, and Key West Business Guild come up here. I would like you all to join me in dedicating our first new bench tonight to A.H. Monroe. A.H. of Monroe County was founded in 1986 by a small group of people very worried, huddled on a back porch. Neighbors and friends were sick. Dying did not always have dignity. Stigma, ignorance, prejudice turned a lot of these cruel deaths into faceless numbers compiled for painfully slow research and ignored by politicians. Not everyone got a proper funeral or a quilt panel. Some were never even mourned. So, with our agency's bench and its inscription, not everyone's name gets etched in stone. For the many others gone too soon, you are remembered. A.H. holds especially close those men, women, and children who all had dreams. You were more than a statistic. You lived a life and you had a name. Even if it isn't here, we see you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm representing Metropolitan Community Church. Reverend Steve Torrance is traveling and sends his regrets for not being able to attend tonight, but he's here in spirit because the words I'm going to read came from him. Our bench quote is from Dr. Maya Angelou, which says, "We all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry, and we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value. In Key West over the years, we have weaved a rich family tapestry together. Regardless of differences, we work together for the greater good. Most importantly, we were a we, even in those darkest days. As the years went by and we got older, we continued to weave a beautiful, eclectic tapestry, recognizing that because of our diversity, we are stronger. As we gather here tonight, we as a church are so proud to have been a part of the lasting legacy that has been created here. Unlike most of the world, we have never forgotten that each of you and that each of us are important. We are important because together we work not to right yesterday's wrongs, but to create a future together of equality, acceptance, understanding, and love. There is no future without the present, and I challenge you to remember the past and work hard to create a future for the better of our community and in turn for our world. A future of tolerance, acceptance, love, and family. We are a diverse group. We come from all across the country and across the globe. We must use this to our advantage and not let differences separate us. We must learn to create a tapestry that celebrates and learns from different cultures and experiences instead of one of intolerance and division. And in closing tonight, I'd like to leave you with this quote from Egyptian poet Mustafa Ibrahim. May you never be the reason why someone who loved to sing doesn't anymore, or why someone who dressed up so uniquely now wears plain clothing, or why someone who always spoke so excitedly about their dreams is now silent about them. May you never be the reason someone gave up on part of themselves because you were demotivating, non-appreciative, hypercritical, or even worse, sarcastic about it. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm here to represent the Smart Ride. The captain of the mile markers, the Key West team, Don Dot Towers out of town, unfortunately, so I'm here to replace him. The Smart Ride is an annual 165-mile bike ride from Miami to Key West, benefiting 8 service organizations throughout South Florida. Our own AH of Monroe is the lone remaining benefactor agency from the original Smart Ride in 2003. Since the ride's inception, AH of Monroe has received over $1.8 million from the Smart Ride. This number will soon expand to well over $2.1 million as a result of this year's successful ride. In addition, when the panels of this sacred memorial fell a few years ago, it was the Smart Ride that delivered an emergency grant to cover the cost of repairs. As a 5-time rider, I have witnessed the incredible energy and enthusiasm of everyone participating in the ride, even from neighbors throughout the Keys, cheering as riders on the shoulder of US 1. Not to mention seeing what the money has done. Just look at the beautiful Marty's Place on Bertha Street. It is my honor and privilege to officially dedicate the Smart Ride bench and acknowledge its contribution to the beauty of the Key West AIDS Memorial. The bench formatted reads, "Riding to remember those gone too early, riding to prevent more from passing." Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Pete Arno, Community Liaison for the Key West Business Guild and a member of the Board of Directors of the Friends of the AIDS Memorial. The Key West Business Guild is the oldest gay and lesbian marketing organization in the United States, being founded in 1978. 5 years after its founding, the Guild membership was hit by the AIDS epidemic, and many of its members passed away. They are memorialized here in the memorial, along with my first partner, Bob Linder. The Board of Directors and membership of the Key West Business Guild is honored to have donated a new bench, which will become a permanent fixture of the Key West AIDS Memorial, a member of all those that we have lost. Thank you.
Thank you to all of these organizations for supporting this memorial, the dedication of these benches. We'd also like to say thank you to Greg Brube Gray. He's standing over there. He created these beautiful benches, so we thank you very much. I'd also like to say thank you to the board members of the Friends of the AIDS Memorial. We have Larry Blackburn as our president, Stephen Obey as our vice president, Peter Arno as our secretary, Michael Ingram is the president emeritus, Clayton Lopez. I myself am on the board, as well as Joe Tripp and Bernadette Restivo and Reverend Steve Torrance. So we wanted to say thank you to all the board members as well. And I'd like to invite up next our Poet Laureate, Flower Conroy.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. This is called That Which Cannot Be Contained, and it has an epigraph by Mark Doty. Why so difficult remembering the actual look of you? Sometimes I corkscrew so deep inside my own head, I mistake dream for dream's dream. Or a grassy field effervesces into its own dirt gold essence. Even this morning, sipping coffee in the kitchen, looking out at the slow-moving water, I lost myself completely. I was out of body. I could feel each arm hair. I didn't know what day it was. It was every day. Sometimes I conflate the everlasting with the moment present. I've begun this letter to you so often, I'm like a moon shaped by its internal activity, another planet's moon, carrying on with my obscurities and disclosures, refining my orbit from the outer banks of space back to you. Sometimes I have to remind myself that it's okay to linger too long in remembering. So what if the slow approach breaks my heart in the end? This is what prayer is, isn't it? A deliberate slowing and holding in thought. Though I have never come to prayer easily. I mean, it's an act of willful surrender that demands everything of you. How can one take offering their soul tangled in words lightly? Like the hairy caterpillar in its cocoon, the metaphor arises easy, but the actuality is hard won. There is no graceful rest in transformation. The branch crawler has to destroy who it was entirely and reconfigure itself anew, only to utterly disappear days later as a papery kiss alighting on some heady, pollen-hot bloom. Have you ever noticed some hours the sky opens itself like veinstone and reveals in its electrified molecules a few stars with such cadence you almost feel watched by the far-off light, that the very air and leaves sense you and respond in turn to your slightest vibration with an ethereal music, alone yet known. Because to be in the present moment is also to surrender. Phoenix into flame, into ash, into air, into beak and claws, into flight. Forgive me. I thought I was writing a poem, but I found myself here mid-meditation, indulging in the now, in the tender unfolding. I get like this, trying to talk to you, esoteric and heightened. We must do as that poet encourages, and try to praise this world despite its heaping of injustice upon injustice upon injustice upon graver injustices still. Right now, the ocean extends itself in perfect disorder. Someone is entering a room for the first time. Someone is standing on a staircase opening a letter that will forever change their life. Right now, I'm gathering myself, practicing being a willing recipient of immaculate witness. I've not rushed. I've paused to inhale the real and metaphoric blooms, golden chains, crabapple, lily. I'm only now rounding an imagined bend, this tempered meandering towards praising this day, and the hours birthing this hour, and the seconds that'll arrive, slick-skinned, dew-crowned, beyond our brevity. Suffused with the miraculous, the sacred, elegy can't help being nostalgic, nor should it, I suppose. Though my heart isn't always this willing. Love easily arrives, but like a plate on a stick, one must maintain hope. So let me celebrate without haste. Revel sedate unabashedly. Let us raise not fist, but blessing, and acclaim you, dear friend. Let's raise you into clarity from the blue distance, the great sleep into awe. Here among the wondrous ordinary, which is anything but. Who first dreamt the clouds, the hills, the pebbles, these waves? Imagine this world's first day. What grotesque beauty it all was to the first beholders. Forgive me, I'm getting lost in language. I'm whirlwind with emotion. I'm trembling in every cell of my being here with you, where nothing is short of stunning, because I choose to see it that way. encroaching chill, just cool enough it hones everything a few degrees sharper, so that the red of the stop sign is planetary sunrise, so the sidewalk is glacial, the clouds thin and knot into a circus of images. Even the piling laundry is holy. The socks whose heels have worn into webbing, the wash rag bright with bleach, the crumpled, unslept-in sheets, the blouse, which may or may not be forever stained now, the lettuce falling off the fork, landing near my heart at my hunger. It's all a marvel, really. And not a moment passes that I don't wish you here, that I could still hold you and walk with you, that we could quiet together, watching this sky orange and pink and purple into crescent and constellation. Our hearts light, if for these few moments, our minds tranquil with being, unencumbered by tomorrow, and satiated by this, all of this dizzyingly, astonishing world of ours.
Thank you, Flower. We would now like to welcome up the Reverend Donna S. Moat from St. Paul's Episcopal Church for the benediction.
However it is that you may pray or send energy, would you join your good energy, thoughts, and prayers with mine? Holy One, we remember before you all those who have died of AIDS, in this and every place. We give thanks for the love and beauty and hope and joy they brought into this world, and ask for the courage to honor their memories by living well ourselves. We remember before you all those who are living with HIV and AIDS in this and every place. We give thanks for the gifts of their continuing lives and ask that they may know peace and healing. We remember before you our intention to be people of integrity in this life and to respect the dignity of every human being. We give thanks for the opportunity to remember together, to commemorate those gone too soon, and ask for wisdom and resolve to walk together toward an end of the global HIV/AIDS pandemic. In peace we pray to you. Amen.
I'd like to invite anyone that's here tonight, if anyone would like to come up and say a few words, speak of a loved one. Anyone? No? Okay. We'd like to give a special thanks to the City of Key West Community Services. It takes a lot of effort to keep this memorial so beautiful, and we really appreciate it. So thank you. A.H. Monroe for all they do for us and our entire community. And to the Key West Police Department for escorting us safely. We thank you as well. Sorry. Pause. All right. Well, we want to thank you all again for coming. You're welcome to sit here and enjoy this memorial as long as you'd like. And have a great night. Thank you.
I know. He lives here. Yeah, he's from New Jersey, but his parents are from. Yeah, I was there. I got it, and I left it there.
Good. I assume can you put